Okay, so this is for my midterm self-assessment. So more in depth. In depth. I think I'm saying that right. Okay. So question number 1 is, what topic activity have you found most valuable in this course so far? For me, whoa, that would have to be the right to read. I think that's very important for us as Indigenous educators to be aware of how the system is failing people down in the states, primarily Black people, but also those numbers are very similar to ours here, and also us as being Indigenous people together. I think it's kind of like a very common thing to sometimes struggle with reading and writing, and it feels like a failure on your own end, and having this conversation being like, no, this, like having this documentary and also just having class conversations of being like, no, like there's a system behind it that has made it so that you weren't able to succeed, that you were supposed to be not supposed to be in the position you are in now. And how can we as individual teachers know that we can't fix it, but how can we try to make that gap not as big and try to lessen the issue? Okay. Question 2 is, how do you feel about your progress in the course? I feel like I am doing well. I think my areas that I'm not, I feel comfortable talking about like some of the theories that we learned, but at the same time I feel like I am a little lost sometimes too about like just the literature, like the development stuff that we learn about, like and that like and phonetic awareness and like that grouping. I still get a little lost. I think that'd be my hardest part, is just like comprehending that as a whole, of like that phonetic and like how phonetic awareness and that stuff, and how to teach that. That's where I get really lost. I think maybe that will get more important next year. Maybe I am in the right spot. I'm not 100% sure. Okay. We move over to question 3, where I'm going to rank myself from a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being the lowest and 5 being the best. I guess you have this, so I don't really have to explain it. But so the first one, the first area is understanding key course concepts, language, acclimation, and literature strategies. I put myself down as a 3. I even want myself as a 2.5, if that makes sense, because I feel, actually, I would like to change it. I put that maybe as a 2, because as I'm reflecting now, I feel like I understand it, but at the same time, I just feel lost. I don't know what it is that can make me feel more confident. I just, like, maybe it's just because this whole semester as a whole has been so theory-based that maybe my brain just gets a little bottled up, but, like, I feel really, I feel sometimes that, like, certain ones I can understand, and some just fly right over my head, and that's kind of where I'm at with that one. So maybe I'd put myself at a 2.5. Like, I just need more practice with it. The second one is participation in class activities, and I put myself down as a 4, and I'd keep that as a 4. I feel like I know when to ask questions and when kind of to sit by myself and try to work the best with my group, work as best as I can in discussions and try to add things on. I do find it really interesting myself being dyslexic and having a learning disability and learning the stuff about like what quote-unquote normal kids are supposed to learn. So I feel like a lot of times I ask questions about that because I just feels like, oh, well, I never did it that way. Is like, or like, oh, well, I just thought that was a common experience and no one doesn't. Or like, how can you look at this with someone who has a learning disability? So like that's kind of where like I try to like ask questions and all stuff. Completing assignments and tasks on time. I've put myself down as a 4. I have handed everything in on time except the self-assessment, I believe. I try my best on every assignment. I'm very much an oral person over written, so doing this stuff I feel like can benefit me a lot more. So I put myself down for a 4 in that one. Applying knowledge to teaching practices, I put that down as a 3 because I feel like I don't sometimes understand the practices we are learning to be able to see it. So I think maybe that just belongs as 3. I think as I get on and as I comprehend more, I will be able to apply it to my classroom. Reflecting on your growth and learning, I put that down as a 3. I try my best. I'm trying to reflect as best as I can and try to learn as best as I can. But some concepts just fly straight over my head. I have a hard time comprehending them. Okay, moving over to question 4. What specific skills or knowledge have you gained that you feel are most useful for your future teaching? I think reading strategies, like with the right to read and how they talked about this whole concept and how we've talked about how like the programs we use now do not benefit. There's no scientific proof that it benefits students. So my goal overall is just to be able as a teacher to make sure my kids don't feel like I did reading and all stuff of being like knowing you have a learning disability but being like a silent struggler and being like, okay, well, yes, I have this issue, or yes, I might struggle reading, but also the stuff you're learning isn't helping you. So I just feel like I want to know proper reading strategies better, and I think that's the most valuable for me is being like reading strategies. Like that's how this is the like proper way. I don't know why I put them in quotations, but this is the right way of teaching reading to kids. They don't feel like later in life they actually don't know how to read or they struggle with it because a system has brought in something that has no scientific proof of helping them. So I think that's just the most valuable. Number 5 is what goals do you have for the second half of the course? I would like to learn more about how like a goal I'd have is trying to learn about how to support and work with students with learning disabilities and that stuff of how can I support them in a classroom setting, because I don't feel like there really is a talk of that. And maybe in your third year there is, but I just like feel like my second year in the classroom I have students who struggle, who have learning disabilities, and I don't really know how to support them, and that makes me feel not good as someone who has their own learning disability, and I know how to help myself, but I would love kind of just like an overview of being like, hey, like this is how some strategies that can help you with kids with learning disabilities. Okay, and then number 6 is, do you have any feedback for this course so far? Oh my lord, the table is shaky. I'm sorry. I really enjoy this course. I love learning everything. I think really sorry, like this I think my highlight is the right to read. I'm someone who really likes the social justice. I like talking about these issues. So having this documentary to watch and the conversations we had as a class, and it's hard to be like, okay, you're going into a system that is like failing kids. But I think all of us kind of already been aware of that, so just going into that. I also like learning about literature development, and how like the different stages and all stuff, and be like at this age you should be cooing and all stuff, and how can you support that. I just found that really interesting because I have a lot of baby cousins now, and it's fun to see them with their babies now. I don't see them very often, but because they all live far away, but every time I get to see them, they're at different stages, and I didn't know that, but, like, now looking back at all my visits I've had with them, I've been like, oh, okay, now, like, I have a baby cousin named Clementine, but we call her Clem. Like, when I met her last December, she was just cooing, and now she makes full sentences, and it's crazy, and I'm like, oh my god, like, in a year, like, she could talk, and it's like, like, it's so real. So like I'm like now actually being able to understand the development behind that and like how to support them too is super nice, because I have a lot more baby cousins on the way, slowly but surely. Hopefully my cousins will give me more babies, but it's nice to see that development and all stuff. So yeah, this was a long video. I'm very sorry. I also talked way too fast.